So before we get into reading about some of Shakespeare's plays, a really good place to start is getting into the sonnets. The sonnets are a really simple, easy, compact way to even get a good handle on Shakespeare's language. So first you need to know some background information about the sonnets themselves. They were first published in 1609 as a quarto by Thomas Thorpe. There's 154 sonnets and they're all numbered. None of them actually have titles. Usually if you even see them with titles, the title is their first line, like "Shall I compare thee to a summer's day?" But we don't know whose intent it was to put them in that order. There are a few sonnets where it is very obvious that they are intended to be in a cluster or even back to back, but and there is some natural progression in them, but we don't know whose intent it was to put them in that order, if it was Shakespeare's intent or the publisher Thomas Thorpe. And like I said, there are no titles to them, and the order of them and the numbers that they are in is the only order that we know of. So this is the title page in the quarto, and it says, "To the only begetter of these ensuing sonnets, Mr. W.H., all happiness in that eternity promised by our ever-living poet wisheth, the well-being adventurer in setting forth. T.T." So this is some sort of very vague dedication to a Mr. W.H., and we'll talk later about who that could possibly be. So a sonnet is actually an Italian poetry form made famous by Francesco Petrarch. The Petrarchan sonnet is considered to be kind of two sections, with each section having their own unified rhyme scheme. The first octave is A, B, B, A, B, B, A, and then the sestet is C, D, E, C, D, E. However, whether it's an Italian Petrarchan sonnet or a Shakespearean English sonnet, a sonnet is 14 lines in iambic pentameter. An iamb is 1 foot, an unstressed and a stressed syllable. If it's pentameter, that means that there are 5 of those feet. So that means that there are 10 beats per line going ba-bum, 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 ba-bum. Shakespeare's form is very consistent in using the following rhyme scheme: an A, B, A, B, C, D, C, D, E, F, E, F, G, G. What we see in a lot of Shakespearean sonnets is a first quatrain presents an idea or problem, and the following quatrains develop it, and the final couplet actually solves the problem. But the iambs aren't always perfect. Like, this is a perfect iamb, and if you've had me in class before, I always go back to this one for "Shall I compare thee to a summer's day?" That's perfect iambic pentameter whenever you parse it out. A lot of people may not know that Romeo and Juliet's first lines are a perfect Shakespearean sonnet. And you can even see the same type of progression of quatrain, 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 and then couplet. "If I profane with my unworthiest hands this holy shrine, the gentle fine is this: my lips to blushing pilgrims ready stand, to smooth that rough touch with a tender kiss. Good pilgrim, you do wrong your hand too much, which mannerly devotion shows in this: for saints have hands that pilgrims' hands do touch, and palm to palmers holy palmers kiss. Have not saint lips and homely palmers too? I pilgrim lips that they must use in prayer. O then, dear saint, let lips do what hands do. They pray, grant thou, lest faith turn to despair. Saints do not move, though grant for prayers take, then move not, while my prayers' effect I take." So even though this is like two people speaking, with the pronoun I, you can even like read it as one person, and the same development and progression works. So often they're divided in between the Young Man and the Dark Lady sonnets. Sonnets 101 to 126 are considered to be the Young Man Sonnets. They are addressed to some sort of beautiful youth. Particularly 1 through 17 are called the Procreation Sonnets, because their overall theme is for you to procreate, that the only way for you to save your beauty is to have babies. 18, that "Shall I compare thee to a summer's day?" shows a shift in that. And 18 through 126 basically is saying that beauty shall be saved through poetry. And you even it's addressed in 18 and 19 how if you're not going to have children, then the poetry that our author is writing is going to be the one that saves the poetry. They're extremely linear. That's why we're very certain that some of these are intended to be one right after the other. and many of the same themes of beauty and youth and old age and things like that are developed throughout them. But even some of them show themes of jealousy and longing and a fear of separation, or that a rival poet will gain more favor than what our writer has. A lot of people like to say that Shakespeare's gay, and Sonnet 20 is a really good piece of evidence for that. They say it's a really good piece of evidence. I don't know if I would go that far, but the line that the young man is the master mistress of my passion is one that makes people kind of raise their eyebrows about it. We see seasons and themes throughout this. That in the Young Man Sonnets, spring and summer is associated with youth and children and beauty and birth. Again, going back to Sonnet 18, shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Like, you're better than a spring and summer day. Hurrah! Whereas fall and winter is associated with death and aging and other things that are ugly, such as when 40 winters shall besiege thy brow and dig deep trenches in thy beauty's field. That's referring to your old age putting wrinkles in your forehead. So, who was the young man? Could it have possibly been Mr. W.H.? We really don't know, but a lot of people think that this is in reference to his known patron, who is Henry Wriothesley, the third Earl of Southampton. Here he is here with his totally cool cat that looks like my cat Sneakers right here. There are dedications to him in Venus and Adonis and The Rape of Lucrece. And The Rape of Lucrece is a very intimate tone of a poem and a very intimate tone in its dedication that matches some of the same tone in the sonnets. However, sonnets could be bought by patrons or by someone else. To write a sonnet on someone else's behalf was another way that a writer could make a quick chunk of change. 127 to 154, however, are considered to be the Dark Lady sonnets. And these are some of the more mysterious ones that they could be addressed to some sort of mistress. There's definitely a tone that the writer doesn't want to actually be in love with her. And there is admiration and there is also chaos. And there's very little progression, because where we may have one poem that is very sweet and very funny addressed to her, there is another poem that is full of bitterness and shame and self-loathing. Some people have even suggested that the sonnets represent a love triangle between the author, the Dark Lady, and the young man. We often see in the sonnets that fair has two meanings. That fair refers to beauty and also your light skin. During Shakespeare's time, light skin was a sign of beauty. Women were known for doing crazy things with their skin, such as bleaching it, and Queen Elizabeth was known for painting her skin white, an alabaster tone. Darker skin, however, was known to be more exotic and different. However, the Dark Lady is actually only called dark once. It's just a name that sticks. But she is associated with blackness and darkness and often bad feelings. And some feminist readings say that the Dark Lady sonnets represent a type of fear of exotic female sexuality, because some of the sonnets are deeply passionate and refer to her control and her power over him and his emotions. Some critics wonder if these are biographical because they use the pronoun I, and not all of the poems are explicitly about the young man or the Dark Lady. In fact, only 25 of the 154 sonnets actually mention the sex of the beloved. That specifically says he or she. Other cues that make people think that they are biographical is 135 and 136, which a lot of critics do believe are considered to be consecutive poems, that they are meant to be one after the other, have a play on will. And this is a very sexual pun type of thing if you want to look this one up. Whoever hath her wish, thou hast thy will, and will to boot, and will in overplus. More than enough am I that vex thee still, to thy sweet will-making addition thus. And it goes on developing the pun and the different meanings of will. Sonnet 154, some critics wonder if there's a pun on Hathaway. And this is the final couplet in there. And the whole poem is really about how the woman saves him by not rejecting him. And it ends with the couplet, I hate from hate away she threw, and saved my life, saying, not you. So that the woman saved his life by saying, I hate not you. And that phrase, hate away, some critics wonder if that could be a pun on Hathaway. So here's an example of sonnet 1 or sonnet 55 with the rhyme scheme here. Not marble nor the gilded monuments of princes shall outlive this powerful rhyme, but you shall shine more bright in these contents than unswept stone besmeared with sluttish time. When wasteful war shall statues overturn and broils root out the work of masonry, nor Mars his sword nor war's quick fire shall burn the living record of your memory. Gainst death and all oblivious enmity shall you pace forth, your praise shall still find room even in the eyes of all posterity that wear this world out to the ending doom. So, till the judgment that you yourself arise, you live in this and dwell in lovers' eyes. So the first thing you can do is look at the number and then decide to yourself, okay, is this young man or dark lady? Since it's 55, it falls in the realm of young man, and you can kind of understand the theme of them and then go from there. But first, let's talk about rhyme scheme. This clearly follows the English sonnet rhyme scheme. I have it labeled there. The rhyme scheme actually lends to the unity of each quatrain and each couplet, which we'll get into in the next couple slides. But what is interesting about this is that there are strong, perfect end rhymes. If you look, monuments, contents, rhyme, time, overturn, burn, masonry, memory. There are very strong, hard-hitting sounds for each one of them. I parsed out the meter here in the first quatrain, and it is perfect meter on here. Another cue to help you read this is if you look at weak syllables are often the unstressed sounds. So not marble, nor the, gilded, monuments. I didn't read that very well, but you can see that the weaker vowel sounds are those that are the unstressed sounds. But don't be lulled into a false sense of security. Not all sonnets are perfect in meter. If you look at powerful, you notice that not each syllable is actually pronounced. It's not powerful, it's powerful. Okay? And then if we look at the close reading of the content and structure, you can see what I'm talking about, the unified quatrains in the couplet, and then there's a period after each one of the quatrains, okay? So you can pause the video and look at each one of those to get an idea of what I'm talking about here. So go for this whenever you're doing your close reading of your sonnet.